Hello friends, I am Dr. J.B. Kamble, Assistant Professor of Soil and Water Engineering, College of Agriculture, Bhimrangudi, presenting lecture number 12 on topics irrigation and the terminologies related to irrigation, different units used for irrigation water measurements, and methods for measurement of irrigation water. We'll discuss in detail further slides. The terminology are, we know that irrigation means what? Irrigation in simple term we are saying it. Irrigation is artificial application of water for growing crops, or irrigation is a supplement to a part of water required by the crops which is not fulfilled by rainfall. Then next terminology is there. It is also very much related to irrigation. That is culturable command area. Culturable command area means it is the area which can be physically irrigated from a scheme and is fit for cultivation. Then we are having a next term, that is total cultivable area. In other words, TCA. This total cultivable area, it is a total area where cultivation is possible, and this consists of net sown area, current fallows, fallow lands other than current fallows, cultivable wasteland, and land under miscellaneous tree crops. Then we are having another terminology, and that is a net sown area. This represent the total area sown with crops and orchards. Area sown more than once in a same year is counted only once. Or in this terminology, we can say that net sown area means area which is sown more than once in the same year is counted only once. Then we are having a next terminology. That terminology is gross sown area. Here in this, the sum of total of the areas under all crops over the various season in an agricultural year, which is usually starting from 1st July to 30th June of the next year. So here in this gross sown area, sown twice or thrice in the same year is counted as a 2 or 3 times. Here next terminology, cropping intensity. Cropping intensity, it is a ratio of gross sown area to the net sown area expressed as a percentage. Then net irrigated area, it is the area irrigated through any source once in a year for a particular crop. Here, area irrigated more than once in the same year is counted only once. Then gross irrigated area. This is the sum total of the areas irrigated under all crops over the various seasons in agriculture year, and that is starting from July 1st to 30th June of the next year. Here the area irrigated twice or thrice in the same year is counted as a 2 or 3 times. Then irrigation intensity. Here the ratio of gross irrigated area to the net irrigated area is expressed in percentage. These are the terminologies which were related to irrigation and that we have discussed in short. So now we are moving towards the different units used for the measurement of water at rest position as well as in motion. So here we'll see. So when water will be at rest position, then we are saying it the volume of water, and it is measured in different units, and that units are liter, cubic meter, hectare centimeter, hectare meter, etc. Similarly, when water is measured in motion, so in other words we are saying the rate of flow is measured, then the different units which we are using for its measurement, and that are liters per second, cubic meter per second, etc. Then we are having terminologies related to the water. First one, liter. What is meant by liter? The volume of the liter, the volume equal to 1 cubic centimeter, the volume equal to 1 cubic decimeter or 1 cubic meter is called liter. Then cubic meter, a volume equal to that of cube, 1 meter long, 1 meter wide and 1 meter deep. Then hectare centimeter, a volume necessary to cover an area of 1 hectare up to a depth of 1 centimeter is called hectare centimeter. Then hectare meter, a volume necessary to cover 1 hectare up to depth of 1 meter is called hectare meter. So here in hectare meter, 1 hectare meter is equal to 10,000 cubic meter. Then liter per second, a continuous flow amounting to a 1 liter passing through a point each second is known as liter per second. And then cubic meter per second, a flow of water equivalent to stream 1 meter wide, 1 meter deep, flowing at velocity of 1 meter per second and is called cubic meter per second. So these are the terminologies are related to the measurement of water and units of water which we are measuring rest position as well as at in motion. Here we will discuss the different methods which we are using for measurement of irrigation water. So here we will see first one, that is a volumetric or volume method of water measurement. Then second one, area velocity method. Third one, that is a measurement of water by using structures like orifice, weirs, flumes, and that last method is there, that is a tracer method. Here we'll see in detail the different methods which we are using for measurement of irrigation water. First method, volumetric method. This method is used to measure small discharges flowing through a channel or pipe. This is a very simple method and accurate method. This method, when we are using for the measurement flow through a channel, some drop is necessary to allow the container and channel level for the collection of water of the discharge. Time to fill a known volume of container is noted with the help of stopwatch. Here the discharge is equal to volume of water to the time. So here you can see in this diagram, this is the irrigation channel. Through this irrigation channel, through siphon tube, we have taken water at the downside, and here we have placed one bucket in the bucket which is having the fixed volume, and we have measured the time here, how much time is required to fill that bucket of having a fixed volume. So the quantity of water which will be filled inside it divided by time required to fill that bucket with the water. Then we are having next method, we'll see here, area velocity method. The rate of flow of water is equal to Q is equal to A into V. A is the cross-sectional area of stream or channel. Then V is average velocity of flow, and that is in meter per second. Here the cross-sectional area is determined by measuring a depth of channel at various locations, and the depth can be measured by different methods like sounding rods or sounding weights or echo depth sounder for accurate measurement. Also, for measurement of average velocity at each point or subsections measured by using current meters or floats. In this photograph you can see the one person is standing and he is measuring the depth of streams at different locations, and this is a way to calculate the flow of water by using area velocity method. Then we are having next method, that is a float method, and float method which we are using for measurement of velocity. And how we are measuring the velocity, here we can see here we have to choose a suitable straight reach with the minimum turbulence, means in other words a channel which is having a suitable straight reach with the minimum turbulence in it. So here you can see in this diagram, so this is a straight channel, and from point A to B we have chosen it, and around the length of this channel we have chosen, that is a 10 meter. And mark the start and end point of reach. Here we have marked it, start point is A and end point is a B. Then if possible the travel time of that float, it should be more than 20 seconds, and we have to drop float here up to the end point, and in other hand we have to hold the stopwatch and we have to measure the time required to move the float from the point A to point B, and we have to calculate velocity, the distance traveled by the float from point A to B divided by time required to float move from A to B. So this exercise we have to repeat for the 3 times, and then we have to calculate the average velocity of the float or average velocity of water which is moving in the stream. Calculated average velocity we have to use for the calculation of discharge or rate of flow in the channel or stream. Here Q is equal to A into V into coefficient, that is 0.85. Here discharge will be meter cube per second, and A is cross sectional area of the stream, that is in meter square, and V is average velocity of flow, that is in meter per second. Coefficient which we have to use, that is 0.85 for the float method. Here V will be calculated. V is equal to 10 by time required for float travel from A to B, and that is in meter per second. Then next device which we are using for measurement of velocity in water, and that is a current meter. Here we are having two types of current meter. One is cup type current meter, another is a propeller type current meter. Here in cup type current meter, which we are using for the measurement of velocity in irrigation channels, flumes, or in streams, or in rivers. So here this cup type current meter consists of wheel and having several cups. So you can see in this diagrams. So it is having a several cups, and this propeller type current meters having a vanes or propeller attached to the rod. When the meter is placed in a flowing water, the velocity of water rotates the wheel or vane, and in case of shallow streams, the current meter is suspended from rod, and measurement in a deep water, cable used to suspend the meter. Here we have used cable to suspend the meter inside the shallow water depth, and to become suspended, for that reason we have placed one cable here. Then in large rivers, sometimes we are using boats to take the reading inside the river. Wheel rotates, the revolution is recorded in the counter, or in RPM will be recorded in the counter, and by using one calibration chart, the relation between revolution per minute or RPM with the velocity will be calculated. Then average velocity is obtained by taking average of the velocities at 0.8 meter and 0.2 meter of the depth from the top surface. And in case of shallow stream, if it is not possible to take the reading at 0.8 meter of the depth from the surface, then only one reading will be taken at 0.6 meter of the depth from the surface. Then we will be having another measuring devices. So this will be available fixed or portable, both type it will be available. That is orifices, weirs, and flumes. Here weir or a notch is a calibrated instrument used to measure the flow in an open channel or the discharge of well or canal outlet at the source. So here we can see this is a canal or stream in which the water is flowing from one place to another place, and here the head of the water is given, so which is above the crest. So this is the crest of the weir. Then this is the nappy. Nappy means it is a sheet of water which is flowing over the sharp crest. So this is the sharp crest of the weir, and this is a point to measure where we are measuring the head of the water, and this is the bottom surface of the weir. Then advantages of weir and disadvantages of weir. What are the advantages of the weirs are there? First one, the capable of accurately measuring a wide range of flows, can be both portable and adjustable. It is easy to construct and tend to provide more accurate discharge rating than flumes and orifices. Here, disadvantages of weir. This type of weir relatively large head required, particularly in free flow conditions, and the upstream pool must be maintained clean, sediment, and kept free of weeds, trash. Otherwise, the measurement accuracy will be compromised. Then we are having a structures, that is a rectangular weir. Here this rectangular weir is used to measure a high or very large quantity of discharges. Here the crest is horizontal and the sides of the rectangular weir are vertical. If the case will be there when the crest length is same as that of the channel width, then it is known as a suppressed weir. If it is not the case, means the crest length is not same as the channel width, then it is called contracted wear. So here you can see in this diagram, this is the rectangular wear, and here this is the crest of it. So here the head will be counted above the crest. So the water surface from the bottom or from the crest, here we will be measuring, and that is called h. So h will be taken here. H we are using for calculation of discharge through rectangular wears, and with the n number of end contraction. As I said, when we are taking consideration for the end contraction, when the crest length is not same as that of channel width, then we are considered as a contracted wear, or then it is called as a contracted wear. And at that time we are taking end contraction, and that is q is equal to 0.0184 into bracket L minus 0.1 nh, and h raised to bracket complete h raised to 3 by 2. Here q is the discharge in liters per second, L is the length of crest in centimeter, and h is the head on the crest in centimeter. Here n is the number of contraction, n contractions means this side and this side, how much contraction is there. So as I said, if the length of crest means this crest length and width of the channel, if it is the same, then there will be suppressed wear and it is not required any end contraction. End contraction will be zero in that case. And if this is a far from the crest, a rectangular wear is a far from the side, so here it is the side and it is a far from the side, or the both side you can see here it is a far from the side. So in that case, this is having a contraction. So here we have to consider two end contraction, means this is one side and this is another side. Here in this place, n value will be filled by taking a 2 number, and that is a 2 end contraction will be added in it. So 2 end contraction will be in this case. Here I said, in case of suppressed wear, the number of end contraction is 0, and obviously equation is changed. So here q is equal to 0.0184 LH raised to 3 by 2. Then trapezoidal wear. Here the trapezoidal wear has a horizontal crest and slight slope outward to give the notch, and trapezoidal cross section commonly side slope of 1 horizontal to 4 vertical, and is used and given by the Sipuleti wear, the name which is given such type of trapezoidal wear, it is called Sipuleti wear. Also, it does not require any correction for end contractions and is used medium discharges, and normally it is a sharp crested wear. So this crest will be there, a very sharp crested. Now the formula for calculating discharge over the Sipuleti wear or trapezoidal wear, so it is q is equal to 0.0186 LH raised to 3 by 2. Here L is the length of crest and H is the head over the crest. Then next type of water measuring devices or structure, that is a triangular or V-notch wear. It is used to measure small and medium discharges. The 90-degree V-notch wear is used to measure low discharges accurately, and the side of the notch make an angle 45 degree with the vertical, which gives the slope of one horizontal and one vertical. So here you can see in this, so it will give a slope of one horizontal and one vertical. In case of 90-degree triangular wear, the discharge equation is q is equal to 0.0138 h raised to 5 by 2. Here h is the head of the water from the sharp point, or the from this V point. So water over the V point, that is the head. Then we are having another device, so that is a orifices. An orifice is an opening in a bulkhead with a closed perimeter, usually circular or rectangular, cross section through which water flows. These are fabricated by making accurate cut of proper size and shape in a mild sheet or in aluminum plate. If the downstream water level is lower than the bottom of the orifice opening, the water jet discharges free into the air. Here in this case you can see free into the air, and then it is said to have free discharge. So here it is a free discharge. in case of free discharge, the depth of water on the upstream side of the orifice that causes flow is called head. If orifice discharge under condition of submergence, it is called submerged weir. And in case of submerged orifice, the difference of water level in the upstream and downstream side is known as head. Here Q is equal to discharge, and that is in liter per second. Here Q is equal to CD into 10 raised to 3 into A square root of 2GH. So here CD is coefficient of discharge. Usually it is taken as 0.062 for sharp crested orifices, and A is, that is the cross sectional area of the orifice, and G is acceleration due to gravity in centimeter per second square, and H is the head of water causing flow, and it is in centimeter. Then we will be having a next measuring structure or measuring devices, and that is a partial plume. Partial, the scientist who has designed this plume in which the discharge is measured by allowing the stream of water to the flow through a converged section of a plume with a depressed bottom. Here you can see in this diagram. So this is a converged section. Here this loss of head, which is a very small due to flow condition, is measured accurately to obtain discharge, and it consists of converging upstream section, then throat, and diverging downstream section. Here this is a converging upstream section, then this is the throat of the partial plume, and this is a diverging downstream section. Before throat section, crest will be having in convergence section, and then we'll be having one stilling well. So stilling well usually used to measure the levels or water levels in the upstream side as well as downstream side. Then the floor of the upstream convergence section is level and the wall converge towards the throat. The floor of the throat is inclined downwards, but the walls are parallel. The floor of the divergent section slopes upwards and walls diverge downstream. Then the throat width specifies the dimensions of the partial plume. Here plumes made with GI or aluminum sheets and are easily portable. Then brick masonry and concrete plumes are permanently constructed in the channel. Then, as I said, the stilling wells, it should be constructed at the side to take the measurement. And then advantages of partial plume. Here partial plumes does not require any substantial drop in the channel, and for its installation it does not require a point above the plume, as the velocity approach has no side effects on its performance. Then plume does not get clogged due to suspended slit or floating debris. The partial plume can be constructed in various sizes to measure wide range of discharges. Then partly submerged plumes also allow accurate measurement of discharge. Then disadvantages of partial plume. The partial plume cannot be combined with the turnout from canal or storage pond. It is more expensive and its construction is difficult. Only small size made of sheet metal is portable, and correct selection of size and proper setting for precise measurements is required for some expertise. Then we are having the last method of water measurement, and that is a tracer method. Here in this method, the tracer dilution method, the tracer solution is injected into stream at one point and the tracer is measured at a point downstream to the first point. Then the knowing the rate and concentration of tracer in the injected solution, the concentration in downstream section, the stream discharge can be computed, and either constant rate injection method or sudden injection method may be used for determining the discharge of the stream by tracer dilution. Here we will be having some study example and which is related for the calculation of discharge through rectangular weir, cephaloty weir, and through orifice. Here a rectangular weir of crest length of 30 cm and width of channel is 50 cm The height of water above the weir is 10 centimeter and calculate the discharge here. So here in this example you can see the width of channel is not same as crest length, means here end contractions will be there, and by using end contractions formula you have to calculate the discharge. Then next one, CPT weir of 15 centimeter crest length is installed in a straight channel, and the head over the crest of the weir is 15 centimeter. Here we have to calculate the discharge by using trapezoidal weir formula. Then a circular orifice has a diameter of 10 centimeter and the depth of water on the stream upstream side it is a 17 centimeter above the bottom of the orifice. If the coefficient of discharge is 0.61, calculate the discharge of or discharge for free flow condition. So in today's class we have discussed about different water measuring devices, starting from the volumetric method and area velocity method, and different structures which we are using for the measurement of irrigation water, that is notches or weirs and orifices and flumes. Then we have discussed about tracer method which we are using for the calculation of discharges. So here we'll stop. Thank you friends.